Shanks is a character of mystery still to this day. We have been seeing more of him lately, and we have recently seen more of his family heritage in the fact that he's a celestial dragon, and he has a twin brother named Shamrock. The pieces of the mystery of Shanks is unfolding the closer we are getting to the endgame of the story. That's not a coincidence. Much of the fandom have spoken that Shanks is actually a chosen child within the One Piece world, and you can kind of make sense of this. He was saved in the God's Valley incident, he's the son of the head of the God's Knights, and now currently, his dad is now a Gorosei. He journeyed with the Pirate King Gold Roger and was basically his protege. He set out to sea and made a crew of his own strong enough to be labeled as one of the 4 Emperors of the Sea. In chapter 957, Shanks' crew was described as well balanced out of the 4 Yonko crews at that time between Kaido, Big Mom and Blackbeard. So his crew overall may not be the biggest, but the power gap between Shanks and his top level commanders may not be that big when compared to Kaido to King and Queen, or even Big Mom to Katakuri respectfully. In chapter 1054, Shanks says to Ben Beckman, it's time to claim the One Piece. So look at the timeline. He was in the God's Valley incident as a baby, where all the strongest guys in history were there fighting at the same place and the same time. You add him being part of Roger's crew and be part of the legendary battles against Whitebeard. He found his own crew after seeing Roger die. He grew older to become a Yonko of the Sea and is now claiming to go back and get the One Piece, whilst having a twin brother who is a part of the God's Knights and having a dad being part of one of the Goroseis. Doesn't it seem like Shanks is the undercover main character? Even though he barely appears in the story, you hear all of that, and how can you not think that Shanks is an important character? You can actually make an argument and say, yo, did Oda make a mistake making Luffy the main character of the story, when in fact Shanks has all the lore and history so far? It seems as though he would have been the perfect candidate to being the main character of the story. But of course, I love Luffy and he's one of the greatest main characters of all time. But I might make a more in-depth video about that later on, so stay tuned for that video when that video drops. So as we established in this video, Shanks is a very important character for the story of One Piece, and one of the things that us fans have been crying out for all these years is, how does Shanks fight? Does he have a devil fruit? How does he fight strong opponents with just one arm? Those questions were answered in One Piece Film Red and in chapter 1079, where we see Shanks use his future sight to see that Kid was going to unleash a devastating attack and will harm a lot of people, including his crew. Shanks sees this and speed blitzes Kid and uses a very familiar attack, Divine Departure. We have seen this move before. The former Pirate King himself, Gold Roger, used this exact same move. So what does this mean exactly? Is it that Shanks is now using the same moves as Roger as an homage to his former captain and mentor? Shanks still calls him captain, as we see back in Shapodi Archipelago when he meets with Silver's Rayleigh. Is Shanks just paying tribute to him? I think it's deeper than that. We often see characters in this story symbolizing a character from the past in ways in which they could be like a modern day version of that character, or they are now the ones able to carry on that previous character's wish, their inherited will. And we see the essence of the previous generation characters within the modern day counterparts. For instance, Blackbeard making Hashinozu his base and naming his pirate ship the Saber of Zebek. Of course, now it's obvious given that Blackbeard is Rox's son. However, remember the chapters before the flashback where we didn't know Blackbeard was Rox's son, and all we heard of Rox was that he had the most chaotic crew in all of history. Well, Blackbeard before the reveal had Hashinozu and named his ship after Rox. He symbolized the chaotic essence of Rox. That's why at that time he was called the modern day Rox by the fans. Luffy always had parallels to Roger. However, now with Gear 5, we see that he is the modern day version of Joy Boy. Joy Boy's famous goofy silhouette is the same as Luffy, which symbolizes that Luffy is the modern day version of Joy Boy. Kobe using Honesty Impact, which is a clear tribute to Garp's Galaxy Impact. Garp himself in episode 1114 says Kobe is the future of the Marines and also his beloved pupil. Garp in chapter 1165 rejects Roger's offer in joining his crew, saying, "Who will protect the Marines?" Garp has a good heart. He wants to protect people. Same as Kobe, as we see from literally episode 1, where he also wants to be a Marine to protect innocent people. The Honesty Impact is the symbol that Kobe will be the next Garp later down the line. And finally, Shanks is clearly, in my opinion, the modern day version of Gold Roger. He was wearing Roger's straw hat. He gave his straw hat to a young kid in Luffy who he sees endless potential. Just like how Roger saw limitless potential in Shanks when he was a kid. His fighting style is similar to Roger in that he uses a sword. He never ate a devil fruit just like Roger, who we have not seen any indication that he had taken a devil fruit either. He's using Roger's moves as his own, now in finishing off threats like Eustace Kid. Shanks is the modern day pirate king. His conqueror's haki was strong enough to make an admiral stand down at the end of Elbaf, as we see against Greenwood. We see the strength of his haki, and I think the fan base is in agreement that Shanks is probably the strongest haki user in the world right now. His king's haki stopped an admiral whilst he was miles away. That feat is ridiculous. But I think there's more to Shanks' haki than meets the eye. That he can make an admiral stop just shows that even his advanced conqueror's haki has a different level to it. Oda confirmed in volume 66 in an SBS that characters can't train to get King's haki, but once they unlock it, they are able to train it and make it stronger, as we have seen with Luffy with his King's haki getting stronger as the story progresses. Which means that there's probably feats of haki that Shanks can do that no one else can because he's been training it so much. But one of the questions that has always puzzled me was that how is it that Shanks was able to go from point A to point B so quickly? In this case, I'm talking about Marineford. How did Shanks go from stopping Kaido in probably Wano to then arriving at Marineford in record time to save Kobe from being burnt alive by Akainu? The timing of that save was way too good to be a coincidence. But what I find interesting is that what Shanks says to Kobe, which is even more fascinating and is often overlooked. He says that Kobe's actions now, being brave and standing up to Akainu, has now changed the future of this world tremendously, with the camera panning towards Luffy as Shanks says this. At that time, you just think that's a cool badass line to match the badass entrance of Shanks. But I think this is a hint of Shanks' hidden awakened future sight. Just like all those years before we knew about King's haki, when we see Shanks use it against the Sea King when he saved Luffy, that was a massive hint for King's haki. And again, while saving another youngster who would be a massive presence in the future, he made the prediction that his actions has now changed the future. How can Shanks make a prediction like that? Oda doesn't just add lines for the sake of characters looking cool when saying those cool lines. There's more to it. When Shanks attacked Eustace Kid, Shanks literally flew to Kid and used Divine Departure. And I think this is what happened here. Shanks came flying in, speed blitzing everyone and stopped Akainu's attack. But then how was he able to go from the New World to Marineford at such speed? If you see Shanks when he arrives in Marineford, he doesn't look banged up at all. In fact, he doesn't even look like he was involved in a fight. I think Shanks was able to just talk to Kaido and get him to stand down rather than fighting him. Otherwise, I'm sure Shanks would have had some scratches on him. Okay, so let's go with that. Shanks didn't have a death battle against Kaido, no worries. But how did he still manage to get to Marineford in time to save Kobe? I don't think the answer is in speed. I think the answer is in prediction. Madame Charlie from Fishman Island, the famous fortune teller who never gets a prediction wrong, manages to predict way into the future that Luffy will destroy Fishman Island back in chapter 610. I believe Shanks has that same ability of seeing into the future. We already know that he has future sight as we see him using it against Kid. But I believe Shanks' future sight is so advanced that he can actually see into the future. Shanks was able to see if he doesn't save Kobe in time, Luffy will die, and that will have a massive impact on the world. So it's not Shanks speed blitzing through the New World back to Marineford after fighting Kaido. It's more Shanks told Kaido not to turn up, with him seeing the future of the ramifications if he doesn't save Kobe in time. So that's what happened. Shanks saves Kobe and gives that monologue of the future now being changed tremendously because of Kobe's brave actions. If King's haki, which is the rarest out of the 3 haki techniques, can be trained, then surely even future sight can be trained to an extent where you can see far into the future. Shanks in chapter 1054 says he's going to get the One Piece. Why is he making his move now? It's because he has seen a future that we are not aware of yet. Or has he already seen that Big Mom and Kaido will be defeated in Wano when Luffy, Law and Kid arrive at Wano? Has he already seen that thousands of chapters before? Which is why he waited for them to lose so he can make his move. Well, that's my theory anyway. What do you guys think? Do you think Shanks has an advanced form of future sight which lets him see far into the future? Let me know in the comments down below.